need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
My next question comes all the way from Narragansett, Rhode Island. Oh my gosh, that's so heartwarming. It's so heartwarming, especially in July. Jen, thank you for writing me. My family, after spending 2 weeks in Rhode Island last year when we were living out of our car, when I say living out of our car, we were going from hotel to hotel in our car, but it felt like we were living out of our car because we just keep all of our stuff pretty much in the car. Besides what we needed to sleep, we had like beach stuff and we had a lot of stuff from our move in the car. So we were nomads. So this year when I asked the kids where they wanted to go for vacation, they were like, anywhere but Rhode Island, because they have bad connotations of like being displaced from their home and floating around Rhode Island for weeks. But I always have good memories of Rhode Island, and it's such a special, magical place, and I'm sad that we're not going there this year. So it's really wonderful to get a little postcard from one of my favorite places on the planet. You write, "Hi Betsy, I have recently discovered your podcast and I've learned some great tips. There's so much to think about, and you really offer some great advice. My question is this. We recently renovated a home that we have on the coast in Narragansett, Rhode Island. It's a very small home, and we are making the most of the space that we have. We came from a large 3-story colonial down to a 1,600 square foot ranch. I'm having some difficulty in the back family room. Some of the items in the pictures are new, particularly the rug and the recliners, which I absolutely love. But the piece under the TV also the piece under the TV as well as the TV. So all those are good pieces. Got it, Jen. Like all husbands, they feel they need to have the TVs big. The window blinds are new, and I selected the paint color as I like the cool coastal feel. I guess I would call my style coastal comfort. I don't know, though. Maybe you could help me with that. I love the colors in the rug, but I am struggling to pull everything together. I think the brown couch is throwing me off, and I would eventually like to replace it. Any thoughts on that? What other pieces in this room do you think should be replaced, and with what? Any ideas on how to decorate the walls? Any drapes or color needed around the sliding door? I threw in a picture of 2 mirrors that I saved from my previous home, and I'm trying to decide whether or not they could work in this room. But are they too modern looking? Thank you so much for any advice you could offer." Well, Jen, it is always so fun to be decorating in Rhode Island, especially decorating sort of in a beachy coastal style. Now, if you wouldn't have told me that this was Rhode Island, if you wouldn't have told me that your style was beachy and coastal, I don't think I would have gotten it from this particular room. I definitely think that the brown couch, which is kind of like a mushroom brown, it's not like a chocolate brown. I think the brown couch is taking me in a direction that does feel less beachy and feels a little bit more lake housey, because the rug, which has like kind of rusty oranges, a little bit of yellow ochre, some lighter blue, some navy, some grays, a little bit of off-white. I really like it, but it doesn't necessarily read beach. When I think beach, I think kind of brighter, livelier, and these are a little bit shaded and a little bit moody. So you're going to want to pop the ones that do evoke beach, which would be the lighter blues and probably the navies. And then, I would take the lighter shade of this orange, which could maybe almost be coral, which is definitely a beachy color. So if we were using for our color palette derived from this rug, the light blue, the navy, and that coral, wow, I think we could really start to make this a beachy statement, especially because the recliners are so dark, the couch is so dark. This room is starting to feel dark. So yeah, this is going to be a big help. So let's start by changing out that couch, ideally for something cream. As long as this isn't going to be a beach rental, I think that would be a good idea. Now, I love the fact that you sent me these mirrors, which are circular kind of starburst mirrors that appear to be like a champagne silver, but I can't really tell the size. if I were to take it off of the measurement of the couch seat height, because they're leaning on the couch, I would think that they're about 20 to 24 inches in diameter. So they're big enough to make a statement, but not big enough to drive any pallet or anything. So if you choose to use them in this room, I'm totally fine with that because we have other silvers with the brushed nickel ceiling fan and the rods, even though that drapery rod is way too skinny. I hate any rod that's under 1 inch in diameter. But I just don't think that they're going to be a major player in this room. So I wouldn't really worry about it. I think you're going to need some artwork, basically. But I would change out the couch, and I like the pillows that are the light blue and the ivory, but I think that the throw blanket that's kind of taking us into the rustier version of the orange versus the coral version of the orange is a bit of a downer. And I think we need to put a lumbar pillow or a throw blanket on these big, chunky navy recliners so that they feel less dark. Yeah. And then you have a table lamp on these tables. Now, I like the sort of beachy vibe of the tables, even though it's obvious that the coffee table, the end table, and maybe even the TV console are a set. It's kind of an ivory painted wood on the bottom with a slatted mid-tone wood on the top. But this lamp appears to be a shade of teal or something that's not found in our inspiration piece, which in this room currently is the rug. So for me, this lamp sticks out like a sore thumb. And while it does feel like the beachiest thing in the room because it's kind of that lighter, more cheerful shade of blue, it really is not going. So I would eliminate it and maybe do like a seated glass because that's a very beachy texture. I think if we're going to be doing these dark type lake house colors, even though I'm trying to get you out of that, obviously, then we need to bring in some beachy textures. So I could see bringing in some rope in terms of maybe a cool floor lamp. I could see bringing in some of that seated glass in terms of that cool table lamp. I could see, I'm like open to shells when we are in a beachy area. I am open to shells. So I love like a mirror that's got an oyster frame or like a big chandelier that's made of capes, or even a tray that's capes. There's lots of different ways we could go here, but I think incorporating some beachy textures, especially because we don't have much wall space, could be really cool. I don't know how I feel about a lot of drapes. You have a lot of windows in here, and I really love them. You've got shades on them, which I think are looking really sharp. And the one window that does have that very flimsy rod, those kind of cream off-white drapes are really not doing anything. They look sad, frankly. And they're just on that one window, or is it a slider? I'm not sure. And the other windows are all empty, just with the blinds, no drapes. So I think I could be down with this room just not having the drape. But then, the window behind the couch is kind of narrow at maybe 3 feet, and you have this very chunky sectional. I might flank that window with two pieces of art. We have so many rectilinear shapes that are vertical in this room with all of these beautiful windows and doors that I would think about doing maybe two squares, like a diptych, piece 1 and piece 2 on either side of that window that bring in the colors that are reiterated in the rug so that we're reinforcing that color palette. Jen, it's so easy to solve all your problems. And I'm so excited for you and your new place on Narragansett. A big thank you to Aton and the Embassy who wrote our theme song. A shout out to Catherine Heller who owns the podcast shop and is our editor extraordinaire. We also want to thank Ginny Sunasan and her team at the Savvy Podcast Agency for their help with our social, our YouTube channel, and so much more. We also want to thank Uploft, which is our parent company who supports this podcast. And lastly, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support.